Hello, I'm here to give you an idea on how to develop a virtual scratch system for your swim meet. First time you do it, there's a bunch of learning curve to it, but hopefully this will help and smooth the transition out for it. We used it this past weekend for our Florida Senior Championships South, and it worked fairly well. So hopefully I can show you a few ways to avoid some hurdles that we ran into. First thing you need to do is communicate out to all your coaches to inform them that all scratches must come in the form of via text and or email or intent to scratches, and provide them the rules based upon your meet, and inform them that the coaches are responsible for scratching their swimmers, and scratches will only be accepted by contact numbers and emails listed on the meet sign-in sheet. I provided them my telephone number and an email. The telephone number is just a Google voice number, which worked very well, so that way I don't have everybody in Swim Florida or Florida Swimming with my email and my phone number. Also, I let them know that they receive an acknowledgement of their scratch or intent to scratch, and if they do not receive that acknowledgement, that it's their responsibility to resend their scratch. And also provided them kind of directions on what to include in the scratch, because I hate it when it goes, can you please scratch Mark Meterson from the 200 free? Okay, well, what team? Is this a coach? So I told them, and I stuck to it, that this is exactly what I want. This is Coach Peter of LAC scratching Mark Mall from event 42, the 200 free. If I did receive a scratch that did not include that information, I did send a reply back saying, I need to know what team this is, what coach this is, what event number this is, for information that wasn't in the scratch. And also put in there, this scratch is not accepted until the information has been received. Then once I have all the information, or if it was a good coach and they listened right off the bat, I send them an acknowledgement text or email saying scratch or text has been received. We also ran a scratch table for our positive check-in events. We informed all the coaches that swimmers, if they are not going to be there, then they need to be scratched from the meet for that event, or else they will incur the penalty of not positively checking in and no showing at the pool. So it worked out very well. The only problem we had was the unattached swimmers that did not get communication in advance. Also informed them that everybody will have availability to view the scratch papers or the prelim results online. I provided the coaches with this piece of paper that they could provide to their swimmers. Swimmers or coaches had to do was scan that QR code, and they would all see a virtual scratch sheet. What we had for that is I set my Google, okay, here's my Google Voice. So just a simple, it's great, gives you a quick correspondence as to all your communication, so that way if a coach comes to you later and says, well, I texted you and you say, did you receive a reply back? Well, no. Well, it's their responsibility to make sure that they send the communication to you, and you can show, well, Coach Megan, here's your scratch that I received, and it didn't say Jimmy Carter, it said Peyton Ming. So when somebody scans the QR code, on the phone it looks a little bit different, but they'll see all the folders I have set up for this meet. So basically Thursday night distance session, Friday prelim females, Friday prelim boys, Friday finals. Inside each of these is all my files that I have for this meet. So for this demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and use Sunday finals as an example. Right, so I'm going to have this up and open as I start my meet manager and I'm running the meet. So at the conclusion, and I'm ready to list, I'm using a meet that's already been done with, but you'll understand the point. So event 166 is ready to be listed for prelims. So I'm going to go ahead and list the event. And I'm doing this in real time, so pardon meet manager's slowness. Holy cow. Alright, so after I print off however many copies I need for my records and for the announcer, I'll come over here to the left and I'm going to make a copy file of this. So I'm going to select to make it an Excel file, saving it to my disk. I just click the OK, and then I'm going to go find the location where I want the file to go. I'm just going to call it in results. And what I did is I just stuck to a format of naming the files that made it easier for everybody to find anything. So this is event 166 for the senior 100 free. And then I just save the file in a location where I know it is. Once the file is saved, then I can go back to Meet Manager, and then I can go into my Google Drive. All I got to do is open up a Windows Explorer, and I usually use the Windows E button to get me there quicker. I find the file, grab it, drag it onto the web page. Now it's uploading that document for me. It's doing all the conversions to turn it into a Google Doc. And then I can go back and play around with Meet Manager until I get my first scratch. Or if you're using a network system, your scratch table will now have access to all that, and you're all happy. So now we just got our first scratch. So I'm going to open up that event. And inside this document here, the first time you go into it, it's got to do a little bit of conversions. So we got Peyton Ming has decided he doesn't want to scratch, or he wants to scratch, sorry. And I go into the list, I find Peyton's name, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight him across all the way to here. What I chose to do is I chose to strike through. You're going to get this notification that they need to change the file structure just a little bit. Let it do its job. I would put a simple scratch through it, and I chose the color of a highlighter yellow to identify the scratch for better viewing. Now, if swimmers put in the QR code on their cell phones, and would pull up, hey, I just want to see if there's anybody been scratching in event 166 to see if I can get in, and we're swimming the top 24. Well, if somebody's below 24, they're not going to get in right yet. But had there been people up on top, they would have seen this yellow with the black stripe through it, saying that Peyton Ming has scratched. I just grabbed a name out of a hat, so unfortunately it was a bad example. So just for pleasure's sake, we'll just say that this individual higher up decided to scratch. Other things you can do if you're running an 8-lane pool for finals, you could simply come here. You could put in a line in there. Oh, there it is. Oh, sorry. You could put a line in there to signify the different separations. So we're running a 16-lane pool for this one. And then one thing we did do is we looked through, and if there was a 19-year-old like we have here, we went ahead and scratched that individual out of this event, so the swimmers would know that, hey, 25th spot is actually earned a right to that position. All right? And then you could put your alternates. In there. So now this looks like the paper just at the scratch table as normally they would be used to. When you share your folder, do not share it so that way anybody can edit it. Share it as a view only. And then as you make the changes, it automatically updates. So the next time that the swimmer decides, hey, I want to go check event 166 to see if I got in. And lo and behold, Bryson found out, or Mr. Bryson found out that he did in fact scratch into an alternate position, and Emery learned that he scratched into the meet. And just like normal, you got to come in and make your appropriate changes into your scratch sheet as well, so that way you make sure it gets entered into the computer. Well, I hope this has helped you a little bit with the idea of how to run a virtual scratch table for a meet. If you have any further questions, you can PM me or message me, and I'll be happy to provide any knowledge that I learned from our senior champs this past weekend. So long and happy swimming.